Go. So welcome to the Ask the UK Sharing Libraries Network. This is a new project that there are around 50 plus already established sharing projects in the UK. And we've recently come together in order to strengthen the movement and connect further with each other. And we are just in the process of trying to get some funding. The idea is to have a website in which we can share lots of resources to help inspire others to set up projects like these all over the world. Thankfully, this is a very growing movement, and we've all in our different projects, in our different contexts, have been having requests from people from all over the world, literally, on how to do that. Hence why we had this idea of like, let's come together. So here, everyone will have the opportunity to introduce themselves and their projects, but you see there's very different models, different cultural and social contexts that we're working with. So hopefully that will give you some insights of the pros and cons about all these differences and nuances, I guess. So James, can I start you please to introduce your project and yourself?
Thanks, Miriam. Yeah, so I'm James from Music Broth. We're Scotland's musical and equipment instrument library. We have currently a library of over 2,000 items, but we actually have hundreds more than that we haven't even got looked at yet. We got a lot of donations over the last few years, and lockdown obviously slowed us with processing those. We've got instruments from around the world, recording gear, stage equipment, and we've been running since 2018, kind of 17, but more 18, when one of the two co-founders was bequeathed a number of instruments. We're based in Glasgow, but we're currently already starting developments to we've already started in Edinburgh, but we're also sort of looking at partnerships in Linlithgow and Fort William to move our geographical range. But equally, we've already sent instruments across the whole of Scotland, Northern Ireland, to the islands, even via a charity called Mishwa to the refugee settlements in Lebanon. Unlike a lot of the libraries, a big part of our funding is from projects. So you can see on our YouTube, we've got lots of musical projects, helping people socially, those with mental health challenges, developing young people's music skills, outlet for expression, socialization. In lockdown, we were actually delivering instruments because we got funding from Creative Scotland to sort of help people's mental health during lockdown. And we also run workshops, but in our musical workshops, we always have a policy of our tutors being paid before anyone else. Run a number of gigs throughout the year. Also, both myself and Jem, the co-founder, we actually come from an engineering background. So we even recently had a master's student doing his thesis with us. So he was looking into making a product to make an instrument accessible to someone with physical disability, anything from arthritis to amputation that they otherwise wouldn't be able to access. I was just saying to one of the co-hosts here that we have quite a number of different challenges from, say, a traditional library of things or tool libraries. Are they traditional now? Have they been around long enough to be traditional? In that we need quite a lot of specialists before you can even really begin with an instrument library, as well as things like tutors, which is on the project side. Just on the library side, we need a lot of specialists in each and every instrument category. Otherwise, you can find an instrument that you think is okay, send it out to someone who actually knows, and they go, actually, that's a load of rubbish. So we need specialists in strings, violins, guitars, woodwind, brass, drums, tuned percussion. Some of our Middle Eastern instruments, again, need, like our dulcimer, even sort of our string specialists don't really know what they're doing with that. So we need a lot of specialists. We've even got to the stage now we've sent people on luthier courses for some of the more in-depth woodworking, because we also have a policy of zero waste. So even the instruments that have gone past their useful life, strings, they all get strings and broken cymbals, they all go to our partners who make jewelry out of them, and we're beginning upcycling for the rest of it, and those in the near future. So old drum shells or old guitars get upcycled. And my role in Music Broth, originally I started with electronics, but now I'm management of our 2 spaces and volunteers. I do the website development, editing of audio, video, media. I manage our 2 servers for file storage and a number of applications we use to run our operations on those servers. IT security, data analysis, because there's also did some stats in my background. The electronics, I rarely get time for that nowadays though. So that's why some of our instruments are definitely not on there yet, because I need to do that. Construction in our spaces for storage. I lead a couple of projects as well, particularly extending our geographical reach, and some of our skills development for both volunteers, along with facilitating some of our everyday projects. And yes, I still have a day job. But that's Music Broth in 2 minutes or whatever it was.
Thank you so much, James. Becky, can you please tell us a little bit about your project?
I can, thank you. So my name's Becky. I am co-founder and director of Benthyg Cymru. Back in 2015, myself, Ella and Jane, the other co-founders and directors, met together serendipitously. I was in the process of taking over an ex-library to create a community centre. And Ella and Jane were interested in the concept of Library of Things. I had an idea about, you know, I was skint and I needed to mow my lawn where could I borrow a library from. We came together, and then in 2015 we created Wales's first Library of Things in a community centre in a small part of Cardiff. That is now run by the community there, and we've kind of branched out and become like the network for Wales. So this, in 2021 alone, we supported or opened 11 libraries of things across Wales. With some of them we run ourselves, so and directly, so we project manage them ourselves. Other ones are run by communities, and then they pay us to support them. We've got a toolkit and all stuff like that, which we help the community set up, and also local authorities. It's a little bit of a different context in Wales because we're like highly supported by the Welsh government in their programme of government this year. Like waste is a devolved area, and in their programme of government last year, they Welsh government said they wanted to create 80 repair and reuse facilities across Wales, so we're supporting them to do that basically. And that's it in a nutshell, really. I don't really know what else to say.
That's brilliant, thank you. And it's amazing what you guys are doing in Wales. Yes, Bob, you're muted.
There we are, you can hear me. Just a question, are you a library or are you a repair cafe, or are you both? Do you repair as well as? So we work in partnership on most of our projects with Repair Cafe Wales and Share Resource. We are separate organisations, but we do our flagship. We've got a flagship store in Newport, which is the High Street Repair and Reuse shop, which is in partnership with Repair Cafe, which is a permanent repair space and library. So some projects are like that. Others we might pop up in a library of things that's already running. We might do a mobile drop, like pick up and drop off. So it just depends. But yes, we do, is a short answer. Okay, so you personally started as a library, but you do associate with repair cafes as well to promote the two?
Very closely, yeah, very closely.
Good.
Great.
just going back to James.
Bob, just a second. We'll just go around just to.
Okay, right.
Thanks. Edwin, please.
Hi there, my name's Edwin. I'm the co-founder and director of Kloth, the Kernel Library of Things. We've been going as a company just over 2 years, but we opened about a year and a third, so September 2020 we opened in the middle of the pandemic. We're based in Penryn, which is quite a small town, which is next door to Falmouth, which is much bigger. So we serve the community of Falmouth, Penryn and surrounding villages. We run a library of things. We have a quite a small space that we've been given by the council to use, running a typical library of things. So we have tools, camping stuff, kitchen stuff, cleaning stuff, that kind of thing. We are aiming, I mean, the name Kernel Library of Things was deliberate, Kernel being the local word for Cornwall. We're aiming to create a network around Cornwall, and hopefully this year we're going to be opening some more branches. I'm already in talks with some people about opening other branches in other places. As we have a small space, we're not able to do anything other than just lending stuff. There is an active repair cafe here in Falmouth and Penryn, who we're quite closely allied with. We're trying to find more space so we can get involved with them more, support them, and we're really keen to have more space so we can have a workshop for to have bigger tools that we don't lend out, that people would come in and use. And there's lots of things we want to do, but we're having to move quite slowly because we're quite time poor. We're all entirely volunteer run, yeah, lots of challenges, but it's all very good. Thanks.
Thank you. And my name is Mirella. I run the Share Sheds, a library of things in South Devon. We are now since 2020. We are running a mobile version of a library of things. So we have a van that we converted, and like a real shed on wheels, and we go around as Totnes, where we started back in 2017. Before then, what happened was, in 2017 we opened here. Totnes has 8,500 people. And all the smaller towns and villages nearby, we were having people coming from these places, and hence why we had the idea, what if we went there instead? We were very lucky to get a grant from the National Lottery that allowed us to trial this crazy idea that felt like at the time, and thankfully so far it's been really positive. We currently have 6 stops every week, so we are in 6 different places every week, so people can borrow stuff today and return next week. And we have a collection of 350 items, including tools, camping gear, gardening equipment, just a few musical instruments, and household appliances. And we've been also really trying to get some Skillshare programs going. Now things are a bit more, I guess, doable around COVID. We're just planning a few activities for the spring. Some include repair, but we're really trying to combine sharing, repairing with making and swapping. So this, it's very like, nutshell of all our different projects, just to give you a flavor of the difference, I guess, and similarities among us. And as I mentioned, this is not so much as a workshop, it's more like an opportunity for you, wherever you are in your journey around thinking of a project, or already have started setting one up, so you can ask us questions and we'll do our best to answer. So I'll try to be fair in terms of letting everyone have a chance. So please raise your hands, and also for my colleagues here, please raise your hands if you feel like compelled to answer the question. So, has anybody got any questions? Yes, Caroline, please. You're muted.
Sorry about that. So I'm in Leeds, and I'm really sort of at the very beginning stages of thinking about how to set up a library of things in my local community. I've sort of put out sort of a bit of a feeler to see if people would be interested, and generally people are, but the one thing that kept coming up was about you know, what happens if things get broken, and I was just wondering how that's sort of managed, if you have like insurance, or yeah, just how that's dealt with.
Yeah, sure. I'll just say something, and Edwin, so you raised your hands. Yes, insurance is absolutely vital. Are you aware there's a project beginning in Leeds? I'll try to find more information and put in the chat box. So there's a group already you might want to connect with in Leeds. That's the beauty of it. It's popping all over the place, and it's harder to keep up, you know, with everything. Each project, I believe, works in a different way. So there is public liability insurance to begin with, that you must have, and that protects you, you know, you from any accidents, like if in your premises, you know, if someone trips over and falls, that kind of thing. And there is also very important the terms and conditions that you must have. And then you know, if someone is using a hedge trimmer and that's in good working condition and they chop their finger off, then you're not liable for that injury. So that's the bit about accidents and stuff. As far as things breaking, it varies from project to project. I will say that at the Share Shed, we made a very conscious decision to act from a place of trust, as in there's not a rule around things breaking. We say if things do break, 95% of our things are second hands. So we work mainly with donated items. So obviously there will be already some wear and tear there. And never mind if things are being used, you know, very often, like carpet cleaners and pressure washers. So they break, and something that it's a given in this kind of project. And usually, you know, it's about a conversation, like someone the other day poured a lawnmower and cut through the cords. And we said, look, our experience shows it's around £10 to get it repaired. And we liaise with our local repair cafe. We don't run it, but we liaise with them. They do the repairs for us. If you can make a donation, great. And if you can't, that's fine, because that's something that we have to embrace in our project. Most of the people are very happy to either make a donation. Some appears like, look, I broke this, here's a new one, you know. That's the thing. There's a much more abundance and generosity than there is, you know, people acting out of bad faith or that kind of thing. So that's, yeah, what we've experienced. How about you, Edwin? You wanted to say something about that?
Yeah, no, very similar. We do very much operate on a position of trust, and similar to breakages is the idea of things not coming back. In over a year, we've not yet had that happen. Something was about 2 months late once, but generally people kind of believe in the idea, and they're quite honest with us. And yeah, we do tend to be very trusting, and we haven't regretted that yet, and that's how we want to run it. That's the ethos behind it. With as Morella was saying, there is definitely a project in Leeds. I've had a fair bit of communication with them a few months ago, so I can dig that out and find put you in touch with them. But I think they had a premises. They had some premises sorted and were looking into various things. So I think they're a bit further along the journey. But yeah, I'll dig that out for you.
Great. So I'm not very good at multitasking, so great. So appreciate that. Rebecca, did you have your hand up? And then Lucy, I can see you.
I did, but I can't remember what I was going to ask now, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. It comes
I'm slightly different, where I've set up it's a for-profit sharing enterprise. So it's tent sharing. So what it does is allow people to just like Airbnb, if you own a tent, it's tent sharing. If you own a tent, you can rent it out on the tent share platform. And then if you want to go camping but can't afford a tent, you can rent one from someone local. I set it up initially. I'd like to be able to just cover my costs, really. So it's not really profit making. It's a passion project, but it's not down as a charity or community interest company as yet. So anyway, I just wanted to put that in the mix because it's a slightly different model, isn't it? But this is very interesting. I love what everyone's doing.
Thanks for sharing it. Where are you based, Rebecca?
I'm based in Hertfordshire, Cambridgeshire border, but the website goes across the UK.
Brilliant. Good to know.
So there may be something in maybe the share, I don't know, there may be some crossover because I have a platform which maybe could be used. I don't know.
Definitely. I made a note because we are trying to create a database of all sharing projects. So that's really helpful to know. Lucy.
Hi everyone. I think so. My question is about space. Those of you with mobile libraries of things, do you still need to have storage space somewhere permanent as well?
Shall I answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
So yes, we do. I think Mirella's going to be different to this, but we've got like a small van, which we've got like a small self-storage unit, and then we've got like some locations which are like community locations, and we'll do pick up and drop offs in different places. So we do have space where everything's stored.
Yeah, our model is different. So we don't do drop-offs and pickups from people's places. Instead we have 3.5 ton, like a bit like a Luton standard, those white vans. So you can picture the size of it, and we carry 90% of our items there. So it was bespoke, like fitted for us, and we've learned throughout time the most popular items, and that's what we prioritize. We happen to have excuse my dog, a garage where we keep the really large items like car roof box or wheelbarrow that get borrowed very infrequently, and if someone wants to borrow it, we might be able to put in the van and take to that village where we are going. So there's a note on our website saying please reserve it by Tuesday, so we can put in our van. But we carry the vast majority of our things in the vehicle, and as I said, we park in certain places every week, and people come to us. James?
Yeah, we obviously we have one very large space and one smaller space, our main site. In addition to that, I currently on a bi-monthly, every second month basis, go over to Edinburgh with items that people have pre-ordered. And then our partnership up north, that's going to be, they have a bus and some space. They do more project work, but we're going to link in with them to sort of share some more instruments with them. So they will sort of be a music Broth up north kind of auxiliary. So we're kind of hybrid between kind of all three models at the moment. When we go over to Edinburgh, the Tool Library in Edinburgh, they actually host us for the evening as just a space to meet, and then that sort of gets that good collaboration between tools, music, and things like that. So we've got quite a sort of three different models going on there.
Thank you. I think I'm interested in working out how we can best start in the town I'm in.
Where are you based? Sorry.
We're in Devon, actually. We're not too far from Totnes. Well,
whereabouts, Lucy?
Bradninch, between Clumpton and Exeter.
Okay.
We've got a repair cafe at the moment, and the council's been supportive but hasn't offered any places. So I'm wondering whether to push it and make them offer space for us to put things that we could then lend out.
I'd say don't overthink it and just start somewhere. If someone's got a garage or someone's got, just start.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds like easy and flippant, but like sometimes you can spend like loads of time like thinking, oh, what's the best place? Where's the best place? How can I do it? From my experience, just start. Just get a lawnmower and a trimmer in someone's garden and offer it to be lent out, that kind of thing. Sorry if that's like not helpful, but sometimes you just got to do it.
Our first space was based with a housing association because they also had some commercial units. I don't know whether the sort of increased social attitudes in Scotland help, including our laws up here, which give other options to those of us to try and force councils a bit to give spaces as well. I know that that's not present in England as yet in their laws, but we did find the housing association were quite good.
If I could just come in there, it depends on the council. I'm not familiar. You may be a very rural area. They may not have any premises, but I'm based in Malvern, which is just south of Worcester, and the local council have quite a bit of property one way or another, much of which they let out, and they let some of it out to things. So the food bank have got a little warehouse, which the council own. The council also made space available for students to start repairing motor cars. So it depends on the council. It depends what's in their property portfolio. And then the next thing, of course, is to get alongside the councillors and persuade them. It's better to sometimes talk to the councillors rather than the officers, because the officers, the easy answer is no. But for councillors, if they're captured by what you're trying to do, they will make it happen. So you've got to do some research on the ground, first of all. Do the council own space? Or if they do, then I think it's pretty well an open door. You just got to work out how you're going to get them to say yes. You may have to pay it. It may be very, very low rent. So you've got to start researching.
Great. Edwin?
Yeah, so I'd definitely agree with that. When we were in the time between setting up and actually finding a premises and opening, our local, well, she was just on the town council then, and she's now our county councillor, was kind of part of our committee, and she was very helpful. And just having people on the council on board. The premises we have, the council have given us rent-free, which has been great. I mean, we had very low outgoings, which makes things easy. Very much agree with what Becky said. Just start small and grow. Is by far the best way to do it, because you don't know what's going to work for you where you are, and you can't know that until you start doing it. And so I think trying to raise lots and lots of money and get everything perfect, you're setting yourself up to fail in a way. Just do it.
Great.
It's like the Nike shoes, just do it.
Rebecca, you've got a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have like is there a library of things like blueprint? Has someone put something like that together so you can share it with everyone and share best practice and how to raise funding and stuff like that? there maybe it'd be a good idea to have some sort of, or if there already is one, like a blueprint. This is how you do a library of things, because it's such a good idea. And it works so well with the repair cafe as well. I'm going to the repair cafe, our local repair cafe, and repairing tents. I go every time there is one. So yeah, I just think it'd be nice to sort of join it all up. But James, I see you've got your hand up. Perhaps you know.
Yeah, it's probably sometimes a good idea to let us know where you are, because there is a lot of differences, both legally and in terms of organisation between the nations, particularly Scotland, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in Wales. We've got an internal network and also a lot of support from at government level. So we're already quite a way down the line in terms of those sort of support mechanisms. So we've got a circular group in Scotland. I'm almost certain there's one in Wales. There is a UK-wide network that's starting, and that's still a bit more at the earlier levels. In terms of sort of like documents, they're not there yet, but there's a very good support network in most cases. There are a few documents on some of the individual libraries that they've already shared. I can't remember most of them on top of my head, but I can probably find those at some point in previous things, but I'm sure the other guys here have something to say.
I've shared 3 guides, so you might be thinking about the Edinburgh Tool Library did one and South Seeds did one, both in Scotland. So I've shared the links to those. And there's also one from Shareable, who I think are based in America, but they're quite interesting to follow and have lots of good advice.
Great. And Becky?
Just to say that Shareable one is one of the first things I saw when I was like skint and couldn't afford a lawnmower. I saw the Toronto Tool Library on Shareable, and like that's how like we first started, basically, was with that. And just to say, in Wales, it's a little like, this is probably going to sound unfair, but this is basically, I've got a toolkit, but this is how income generation for us, how we pay, how we can keep running, is that we kind of support communities to apply for funding to then pay us to then share the toolkit. So it's slightly different, but like we're thinking like long term, like how can we carry on like supporting it? But like our toolkit is comprehensive, covers everything, but it's based in a Welsh context where the laws and conditions are completely different to England.
But Morella, there's an organisation called Locality. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
No, well, Google it and you'll find out about it. They're often given projects by the government to promote across the country. They have a resource base. They frequently engage with consultants. So in other words, they can get into a whole range of skills because they've got people on their books but aren't working with them full time, so they can bring ideas together. They could be an idea. They could be an organization that can spread the toolkit. In other words, rather than having to go to Becky and eat up her time, which is very valuable to her because she's doing things on the ground, Locality or someone similar could provide a resource which makes available the toolkit and supports people who want to develop the toolkit for their local project. So have a look at Locality and see whether they might be useful. Where I came across them was in neighborhood forums. That's to do with planning. And
yeah,
the
it's
government.
really helpful, Bob. And also there's the share shop in Frome. Like they also they helped us out big time, that guides. Yeah. And we also made a donation as a way for them to raise some fundings to support the project. So that's important to have some energy exchange in that regard. Yeah. And there are some great resources on YouTube too.
Yeah. Okay.
There is also going to be shortly, last meeting we had, it was that stage of incorporation, but there is going to be a UK network for just this kind of thing, helping you start as part of this. But I think we've still got to get the name and things sorted, haven't we?
Who's sponsoring that? Is that something that you and Mirella
This
are
is
working on?
internally developed with UK share library companies.
Okay.
So I think the benefit of that over something like Locality is I'm always a bit skeptical of those who come in from the outside to tell you how to do something.
Well,
You've actually got a group of people
I
like
agree.
us who already do it. So
Yeah,
I think this kind of thing that we're doing here is going to develop much more, including things like toolkits and consultants actually from within tool libraries.
Yeah,
as opposed to
I accept that. I accept that entirely. The only thing is that the government have confidence with Locality. They think they can deliver. Whether they can or not, it depends on the individual consultants they engage. But it's just a structure that the government's confident with, and they're prepared to give them the money and say, go off and do it. Now, we well know that many things that the government give to consultants just never happen because they've chosen the wrong consultants. But Locality have a track record, and I think they can deliver.
And has anybody got any other questions? No, are you all good to get going, Michelle?
So we haven't started our library of things yet. We're only thinking of lending to other community groups. So I run a toddler group. I'm actually in West Devon, actually, so not too far from Cornwall. So my toddler group, obviously, why does every toddler group need to obviously buy a parachute? They don't. Let's all share parachutes. So we're only thinking of lending to other groups, so not actual individuals. Has anyone done that at all? So we're not thinking of public at the moment because we're quite small, obviously.
James, just a second back. Do you want to comment on that or something else?
No, I was still on the last thing. I'm really sorry because I feel like I didn't explain myself very well. I feel like I look like we're like trying to get all the money off people who haven't got no money. But so we would, like in Wales, people come to us, we help them like start up and then like share the toolkit. So just to be clear on that, we're not like, you don't have to pay to talk to us basically, but we cover Wales with it, like the network in Wales. So just to make that clear.
Cool. Thank you. James.
Yeah, so we have a lot of commercial partners as well, whether that's councils, schools. We're just starting another one actually with a pub that wants some extra backline and things like that. So we have a diverse range in the way that we work with that. I'm not sure exactly what you need, I guess. If I was in your position, I'd be thinking about the way that you might structure that. Like, would you have, as we do when we have commercial partnerships, we have individual bespoke contracts with those people around what service they're going to get for what return payment, or because sometimes that's not just products, it's also services like lessons or membership for their members as individuals with us, or things like that? Or are you looking at, well, actually each of these other nurseries, you can be a member for this much a year? But then how do you manage if you've got limited resources? If you've got one parachute, can someone keep it for 5 weeks in the summer?
We need to work. This is why we need to work. Yeah, which is why we need to work it out. Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of wondering if it's just because obviously we wouldn't at the moment, as we're only starting up, we probably wouldn't just lend out to members of the public because we don't have that much stuff. But we're very lucky in Oakhampton. We have a charity that's very, very, very rich and is only allowed to give to our locality, our town. So they have agreed to fund it, which is very good.
That's good. So would you sort of just allow free membership of your items from the others, or bring everything together, or?
Yeah, that's what we need to work out really, and obviously the insurance. But they would.
I would just start really easy and just set up a Facebook group or something like that and see what everyone's got, and like just bring people together.
My toddler group has been very, very lucky with grants over COVID. It's quite scary how much money's been out there. So I've got lots of stuff and I want to share it with other groups. So it's just trying to work out a formal way, you know, that my 3 parachutes can spread. but yeah, I'll just make
so
it
there's
really...
Lend Engine and MyTurn are the two platforms that you can use if you want something formal like that to like keep track of stuff.
Sorry?
Lend Engine or MyTurn.
Oh, that might, okay, I'll have a look. Thank you. My turn, I'll have a look.
Might be others, but those are the ones that we see people using in Wales.
Yeah, those are the two I'm aware of too. Put the name in the chat box. Great. Any more questions?
I just shared, you talked about reaching out into skill sharing.
Yeah.
And there's an app, I think she's not for profit, called Casaro, that's already up and running. So I don't know if you wanted to get in touch with her.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question to my colleagues. What's the most joyful and the most challenging thing about running a sharing project? Edwin?
Joyful, I think just anytime you explain it to people, everyone always says, what a brilliant idea. Everyone always seems to be so on board with it and think it's a great thing, and it's an idea of its time. And I love the feedback you get from that, and then just helping people out and helping people out cheaply. And that's something I feel I get every time we're open, pretty much. Challenges, biggest challenge is definitely time. We're entirely volunteered. I'm hopefully in the next week or two going down to 4 days a week in my day job, which will enable a lot of change, because just fitting things into running it, there's a lot involved in running it, and there's three of us as directors, got a few more volunteers, but we're only able to open 6 hours a week. But just fitting all that in is just really difficult into your spare time here and there. So having that time to focus, I haven't even got time to do funding applications, which will buy the time. It's a bit of a vicious cycle in a way, but yeah, time is the biggest challenge I've found. But hopefully, I've found a solution. But yeah.
Great. And for you, Becky?
What was it, the joyous thing, and what was the other thing?
Most challenging.
Most challenging. So I'd say the joyous thing is just like the variety of people you meet, and who all want to do like the same thing. They want to, like, they realize that there's so much crap in the world that we've got enough stuff, we need to share it, and just knowing that there's other people that want to do that as well is just so, like, I don't know, inspiring, really. So, and it'll be from like the smallest like community group, we've got like a couple of houses in their village or whatever in a town hall, to like a local authority who want to create however many. So, just seeing how it kind of has taken off in the last couple of years, it's just mind-blowing, that like from just an idea that not many people have heard of to something that is like, more and more you'll talk about it with someone and they've heard of it, is just like brilliant. And then the most challenging thing is, which is on the back of that actually, is like everybody you speak to thinks it's a good idea. Like there's not one person who says like that's not a good idea, but then sometimes it doesn't translate into actual borrows, into people actually borrowing stuff. So it's like, where's the disc? That's, for me, that's like the biggest challenge, is like how can you connect that like feeling and vibe of people thinking this is amazing with the like, okay, well now come and borrow some stuff, please.
That's called marketing.
Actually, something I think has been a big challenge and will continue to be. I feel that the reasons people have for using a library of things are generally come down to economic or ethical. And the vast majority of people who use it are people who believe in it, who aren't necessarily doing it for economic reasons. And so it's finding a way to reach out to people who would really benefit from us. People, you know, with disadvantaged people with low incomes. That I think is our biggest challenge, and I think this is a challenge that as the network, the UK wide network grows, is a challenge that we should be trying to work together to work. And it's a lot of it is marketing, and it's because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is change people's behaviour. You know, the slogan "Borrow, don't buy." It's powerful, but it's getting it to reach people. And I think that's as a movement, I think that's our biggest challenge.
And you, James?
Could I just say something on the end of that? Where I am, I'm in South Wales, and it started off as a Facebook gifting group. So people that had got stuff that they no longer needed, they'd offer it. But there's getting more and more where people are saying, "Oh, I need to just borrow this," and so it's already happening. But there's no kind of collective thing. So I'm hoping to get on the back of that. But that's a really good way to do it, to have it within something that's already organically working. So that might be the way to tap into the economic part of that you were saying.
Thanks.
If you want to connect afterwards, Nova, I'm in Cardiff, so if you want to have a chat afterwards.
We are already connected. I've had a conversation with Ellie.
Ella,
I'm just
okay,
waiting
yeah.
for someone to get back. Ella, yeah.
Cheers. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear, Lesh.
James.
Yes. So I think we have an extra benefit here over the tool libraries and the general library of things, because we have a little bit of an extra sort of love heart to our product being music and socialization. As much as, like, I was talking to tool library people on Monday, and like, I'm one of the weirdos who can get attached to a particular tool. But most people who want tools, yes, they usually wanted it for ethical reasons, and they're going, "Oh yeah, I want that job done." Whereas we get also the other benefits as well, which is always really lovely to see, in that we have helped people who have literally nothing, like refugee community who are literally don't have any ability to do anything. And when they get an instrument, they really do light up, because they have something to occupy their time while they're practically barred from doing anything. Or when people come in to the library and just see the vast array of very colourful different instruments, they physically, you can see the excitement of like, wow, there's so many, and look at them all. So we get that also with our projects. I think though, for myself, it's one of the projects we worked on was really very touching, in that we worked with a charity that supports children of people who have parents who have been through the prison system. And it was an outlet for those young people to express themselves and their thoughts about that situation. And I had to put the video together at the end, and sort of reading some of what those kids have written was like, wow. They probably wouldn't in sort of traditional therapy have got those sort of expressions out. But the fact that through music, they could sort of say how certain parts in your life that you don't, as a member of the public, necessarily consider about their plight, was really, looking at it from the view of the child, was like really, really touching. Challenges, trying to keep track of so many instruments and people, and actually explaining the system. I think sometimes it's quite a challenge. Like initially you get, oh yeah, right, okay, library. But then we operate as a subscription rather than a per item hire, which I know at least one of the libraries here operate on the same method, but a lot of the tool library of things, they per hire, and sort of, no, that's for 1 month. If you want it longer, you have to keep paying. Or when people might be turned away by the already very low fee of sort of going, don't be shy of just sending us a discreet email and we'll sort that for you, kind of thing. Trying to sort of balance that. it's kind of the social nuances that are probably the most challenging, and also time and money. I did notice in the chat earlier someone, who was it? Rosie mentioned about how to go about starting something other than books, small. I think echoing what was said with Becky, like just start, but I'd say a bedroom, a spare room, a spreadsheet of people and items and who's got which item, and sort of club together between whatever social network you start and see if you can get some other items together. Just bear in mind also if they're electrical, you need to sort of have a policy in place for that. Yeah, I think other than that, that's how to start. We start with just a spreadsheet. We probably stayed with the spreadsheet just a little bit too long. But yeah, we grew quite quickly, I think. So that was probably our biggest challenge, actually, was growing too quick in terms of items. Not too quick, it was just a challenge.
Great, thank you. Rachel, yeah, I'm aware that you put a question in the box, and also there's a question for Lucy. So Rachel, you have a turn.
Yeah, so I'm slightly different in that I work for Children's Services in Northamptonshire, and so we obviously support a lot of families who are on low incomes, and my role is a community connector. So it's about linking different parts of the community up and seeing how we can better support families. And so that's why this interests me, because we often have families who don't have the means for things, and it's also part of my job is thinking about where would I, so I'm not aware of anything. So we have a zero waste shop running, and I'm thinking I definitely need to go speak with them, and they're probably the right sort of people to get started. But I'm thinking, who in the council do I need to draw into this to find the right support? And is it the waste guys, or is it the community development guys, or have there been other places within the council where you've had any initial support that I could sort of draw in to get people engaged within this?
Well, I'll share our experience here since our council declared climate emergency, which was one of the councils that signed up to the declaration. And that meant there was an opportunity there to arrange, given the fact the council declared climate emergency, we see there's a great opportunity for you to support our project that's supporting this community to meet the targets. So, and from that, there was an open air to have a conversation. And then we obviously prepared our data information. We estimate, for instance, the share shed, since we opened, if everyone we've had over 2,500 loans. If everyone had bought that item instead on Amazon or B&Q, that kind of thing, we estimate people have saved £160,000. And then you come with this information that can become real, useful data. It's like, okay, never mind, the waste is diverting from landfill, and the packaging, what's allowing people to do in terms of their well-being and get things done that perhaps they wouldn't be able to otherwise. Then there's a greater argument to get their support. I feel there's more and more, and I understand working with councils can be very challenging. Some are better than others. We're very lucky to be where we are here, because there is a great, a great awareness around it. And yet sometimes it's like, if that, then it's about like, oh, that person is not interested in these ideas, but other councillor might, or you go to an event that you might think that the answer is try your best, try to arrange of approaches, I would say, if you're struggling to get that openness. Does anybody else want to comment on that, or can we move to?
In our case, we didn't really do much with the council initially. The only kind of, I could be wrong on this because it's my colleague Jen, who does most of the financial side of things and the initial bid process. But with our council, most of our stuff has been projects they've had funding bids available that we've bidded for and then got to run certain projects. Equally with the sort of waste side of it, there's not been much there. However, just literally sort of almost at the end of our street, we have a commercial waste recycling company, Viridor. They've actually had some of their staff grab some instruments out and give them to us. Also, they've run a number of courses, just short courses that have been free, that have been quite useful. Some on safety, some on COVID, some on, there's another one that I missed because of being ill, but I'm hoping to get the next one. So strangely, it was the commercial company that was has probably helped us out most, apart from the actual bids funding, which has been very good, and the council has supported us a lot in that way. In terms of, I know people have sort of spoken about councillors, we have had a number of opposition councillors that have supported us in smaller ways as well. But I think we haven't had so much as some of my colleagues here have had in sort of direct support.
Cool. Just final question, there's Lucy put in the chat box, do any Library of Things run alongside time banks? Yes, Becky?
Yeah, our Barry project is funded by the Public Health Wales Public Services Board to run together with a time banking project, Tempo Time Credits, as a volunteering project. So yes, that's the answer. Like, is there anything specifically you want to know about it?
Great. Just see if Lucy wants to say anything. Otherwise, guys, it's 1 o'clock. Just want to say thank you so much for everyone for coming along, and obviously my colleagues too for sharing your expertise. And we are planning to run another event like this with other projects on 1st of April. So please keep, have our details on our Zoom link, which I'll follow up with the recording of this talk, as well as the information for the next event. And if, as I said at the beginning, if there's any further information that you wanted to know, please drop us an email. Do our best to share information, because it's all we're about. Thanks so much, everyone. All the best with your projects too. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Good to see you all.
Yeah.